Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
How you guys all doing on this Wednesday evening? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and I'm here for a review of this past week's episode of Monday Night Raw, the May 13th, 2024 edition of Raw, and it took place in Greenville, South Carolina, right? Not North Carolina, South Carolina. Okay, I think they did botch during the show and say North Carolina. It's confusing. Greenville, Greensboro, like too many greens around the Carolinas. Of course, I've been to the Carolinas and God knows how long. I've been close to the Carolinas a couple times in a couple years since my sister lives in Virginia. But I've been to the Carolinas. I think the only time I've been through the Carolinas, though, is when I went to Florida when I was like 4. And we drove there. But, yeah. But we're going to take a look back now at everything that happened on this show. Again, the May 13th episode. The King of the Ring tournament continues. We had the quarterfinal matches this week on Raw, both for the men's and both for the women. So 4 matches from the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments continuing. Unfortunately, though, despite my predictions or my predicted match card, which by the way, it's gotten a lot of views in the first couple of days that it's been there. So I'll take the views I'm getting on those. I appreciate it. So again, I will continue to keep doing them. The only bummer I will say, because they were advertised this week, it looks like they're doing the semifinal matches on Raw and SmackDown, which I'm a little bummed about that. I really think since the name of the pay-per-view is King and Queen of the Ring, I feel like they should at least have more matches from the tournament be at the pay-per-view. Because to me, having just the finals of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments is just like, well then, it's the same thing as having the final matches on like another pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like I think the last time there was King and Queen of the Ring, I think they had the finals at Crown Jewel. So then what's the difference? I mean, not that I hate the fact that we have a pay-per-view called King and Queen of the Ring again. Like I'm trying to feel what the old vibes were back when it was a pay-per-view. And to me, it feels like when they do that, it's like, then what's the point of calling the pay-per-view King and Queen of the Ring? You know what I mean? Like, you could have had, like, maybe at least, like I said, at least the semifinal matches there and the finals. So that's, 4 matches there on the card? You know, fine. But they're not doing that, so whatever. I'm not going to complain about it completely. As far as this show goes, though, I mean, and I'm very, of course, interested to see how the finals get to for the men's. Again, the women's, I'm not quite as into, especially after seeing the SmackDown bracket. Again, not that I hate the idea of doing Bianca and Jade in the finals. It's just the fact that I feel like that match should still be saved. And as I keep saying, I like Jade Cargill. She is definitely improving us here in the ring. I just still feel like WWE is still kind of handing a lot of things to her. Gotta slow down a bit with the Jade Cargill push. Just a wee bit, in my opinion. She is going to be a big star someday, yes. But just slow down a bit and allow us to feel the momentum instead of forcing the momentum on us, it feels like. But outside, of course, of that, I thought this was a really good episode of Raw. I enjoyed pretty much everything. There was a lot of storytelling development, some character development, such as, of course, with the Intercontinental title picture, with Chad Gable especially, who is getting really rough and harsh on his academy students. And even going as far as calling Maxine Dupree, Taylor Not So Swift, getting on Otis. But the fact that, you know, these people, like Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine all have Chad as a special place in their hearts for him, it's kind of hard for them to let go of the fact that, hey, you know, and stand up to this guy who honestly is kind of giving their careers a little bit of a boost. We have that. Jey Uso is still hot as hell. Well, he's not... I feel like I just completely said the wrong thing there. He is over like hell right now. The crowd is hot for him when he comes out. I'm still really thinking, and spoiler alert, he won the main event. I'm still really, really thinking, though, there's a good chance Jay's going to win. And I still think they're going to use the finals to help progress this bloodline story. Which, again, is totally fine with me. Again, nothing really coming from the women's as of now, but that could change. But yeah, we have that. We have, you know, some stuff with the women. We have, of course, a tag match setting up for a world tag title match at King of the Ring, which we got the people there. Even the storyline with the twist of Carlito getting involved, I thought was interesting. Although I have an interesting analogy also to make about Carlito and Dominic Mysterio when we get to it. And a few other things, but again, I thought it was a really great show. Great wrestling, good progression, storytelling. Again, despite the fact that we're not going to be getting all the just the final matches and not the semifinals at the actual pay-per-view, King of the Ring should still be a great pay-per-view next Saturday. But, without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about it, and we will go from there. So, the show opened up with Drew McIntyre. This is already I forgot to mention in the preview. Drew McIntyre came out, and he gets on a mic, and he basically requotes CM Punk's famous devil quote, saying that the greatest trick the devil ever played was make you guys believe he didn't exist. And McIntyre says the greatest trick Punk ever pulled was looking like a drug addict without even taking drugs. And getting us to trust him, and again, after breaking that trust, he doesn't understand, though, why we keep buying the things he says. He starts talking about Jey Uso failing to win the world title. But then he gets interrupted by Damian Priest. And this is a great promo by Damian Priest. And he has a great story going for him as world champion. And I really think it's going to lead to an eventual face turn for him. Priest gets on the mic and says that Drew has some serious issues. He can't shut the hole in his face, and he should do something about a different and say what he's going to say to someone's face for a change. Drew says he'd love to say it to Punk's face, but Punk keeps running away from him every week. Priest says he's going to say something positive to him. He's worked his ass off for years, paid his dues, deserves all success in the world, but he does not deserve the title. His next door neighbor, Dave, has an inspirational story as well, but he shouldn't be world champion. This is the case of the title making the man, but the title needs the man to make it. And it needs Drew McIntyre. He calls himself a coward for using the briefcase. I'm sorry, Drew calls Damian a coward for using the briefcase. And Priest calls him delusional and asks if he didn't choose this life. And Damian points out Drew himself said if he was smart, he'd wait and cash in on Drew. And what happened? That's what he did. Because all Drew had to do at WrestleMania was grab his wife's hand and enjoy the moment. But instead, he made Punk more important than himself or the title or his wife and got his ass whooped by a one-armed man. He wants a shot at the title, he'll give it to him. But when Priest is done with him, he's going to make him eat all his words. So, teasing, obviously, the match I've been predicting to happen at Clash at the Castle. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre probably again giving Drew his moment at Clash at the Castle to make up for that. Because like I said, back at WrestleMania, he won the title. Of course, he lost due to a cash-in. But, to me, that they fixed one thing and Drew winning the world title in front of fans. Now, we're probably going to be getting Drew winning a world title and having a moment in front of his hometown. I kind of wonder, though, based off of how I think the King of the Ring tournament will finish, Could it maybe be a triple threat, though, at Clash of the Castle? Because I still feel like the story with Jay and Damian isn't quite over yet. And, of course, Jay winning King of the Ring, as I'm going to say now, I think Jay's winning it. With Jay winning King of the Ring, why wouldn't he want another shot at the world title? So I can maybe see that happening at Clash of the Castle. Either being one-on-one between Damian and Drew, or it could be Damian, Jay, and Drew. We'll see, though, how it pans out when we get to Clash of the Castle. So then we have Io Sky coming out to take on Shayna Baszler in the first of the quarterfinals for the Queen of the Ring tournament. Now, Shayna won her match at a live event over the weekend. She was originally supposed to face Zelina Vega, but I guess Zelina was not medically cleared to compete. Instead, she faced Maxine Dupree and won. And I thought this was a really great match with Io Sky and Shayna Baszler. First off, as I've been mentioning lately, it feels like they're starting to... It just felt like for a while, other than a couple matches, it felt like they were really holding back on Io Sky. It felt like that she had kind of like the cuffs on her a little bit. But recently, it feels like they've let the cuffs off of her, which is what they need to do, of course. And I thought she looked excellent in this match. And I also started getting some vibes of the old Shayna Baszler in this match as well, too. I thought she looked very well as well. And these two have great chemistry. Remind me of the days when they did feud briefly in NXT, right before Io turned heel the first time. They had some great matches, but definitely some great, moments there as well. I think Io won after she did a dragon screw knees into the corner. There's also a couple nice reversals that I think like Io went for like a springboard drop kick, and then she did some other maneuver on Shayna, and it got reversed into the Karafuda clutch, which was nice. Of course, once or twice she did try to roll out of the Karafuda clutch, and I'm like, please don't have Shayna lose again to that roll up, because she's lost how many times to those roll ups since on the main roster. But it ended up happening. I think Io hit a dragon screw into the knee on Shayna, which puts Shayna down, and that led Io to hitting the over the moonsault to get the victory. By the way, another new production thing that I saw happen in this show for the first time. A couple times before a commercial break, like they did it once during this match, they showed a slow-mo replay threw the Raw logo up, and then went to commercial. Much cleaner of a transition going into commercials. Again, you can tell that Kevin Dunn's for sure. That and the shots where they follow a talent walking through Gorilla to go out to the ring. So much more improvement of production. But again, a really great match. Io does win, and she is advancing to the finals, where she'll take on the winner of either Lyra Valkyria or Zoey Stark. Backstage, after Io has an interview talking in Japanese and basically saying she's going to win the tournament and she's going to win the title again eventually. Cool with me. Backstage, Carlito is hanging out with Judgment Day when Damian Priest rolls up, and Dom says he knows they have history, but he thinks it's a good time to work together. And Carlito makes his case that they have plenty in common, and with Dom out, they could use an extra hand. Damian says they can work with Carlito, but you don't trust Carlito. And Carlito says maybe one day they can be amigos. Also, finally I noticed too, Dominic grew a mustache. Carlito shaved his mustache and just has the bottom part of his beard. So what, did Carlito get rid of his mustache and give it to Dominic? I found that kind of hilarious how Dominic grows a mustache, Carlito lost his mustache. But a new look, I guess, for his new heel character. I did like what they did with Carlito, but I'll get to that, towards later on in the show. We have Chad Gable berating his Alpha Academy students. He berates Maxine Dupree for blowing her opportunities. He embarrasses Alpha Academy, but he went to Adam Pearce and got them all some chances for redemption. Otis will take on Sami Zayn, and he wants to see serious Otis and no funny business. That means no caterpillars whatsoever. And he also tells Akira Tozawa he's got to take out Bronson Reed later on tonight, which you really think that's a chance? When they walk away, though, Ivy Nile rolls up and asks Maxine, "Why didn't you come to me for help training for your match?" And she says, "Coach Gable don't want her training outside the academy." And Gable comes back and berates her some more and tells Ivy she's got potential, but she needs to stop wasting her time with Taylor not so swift over here. Dang, that was a savage. Line right there. Of course, I said before. Still wonder though if again I still think. Well, I'll explain more at the end of how I'm wondering how they're going to, because I still see Chad Gable ditching Otis Tozawa and Maxine for the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. How that's going to be set up now, though, I don't know. But there'll be one or two ways happening, and it could be a different way based off of what we saw in this episode of Raw. Alright, New Day's backstage. Kofi's being interviewed about getting payback on Gunther for what they did to Xavier Woods, basically. And he also said his match he had over the weekend with Rey Mysterio, which he won getting to the next round, reminded him that there's no room in the ring for self-doubt or failure. Which I'm still wondering, based off of that and something that happened afterwards, will they finally go a new direction with the New Day? Because, at this point now, it's like they're just staying in the same spot, being the same characters, no development. It's like, we all want something new here, people. Because New Day has just been there. The act is so, past its prime. It's Hall of Fame. It's legendary, but just the fact that they just feel like filler right now. Kofi and Xavier just need a new direction right now. But anyways, before the match started, Lillian Garcia was brought out as a little bit of a surprise. She introduced the next match of Gunther and Kofi Kingston. And also, she put over Samantha Irvin as how great she's doing as an announcer, which I do agree. Before the match, though, we did have Adam Pearce chatting with R-Truth and Miz about their next title match. And while they're talking, Kiana James rolls up, and she uses a couple of big words that basically led R-Truth getting immature thoughts. I'm not going to say what exactly it was, of course, but it was because they ain't PG, so just honestly giving us the cracking up. And I just love Adam Pearce's reactions when he has to deal with Truth. It's hilarious. Chelsea Green's gone. R-Truth's actually likable, but of course, obviously, he still gets underneath Adam Pearce's skin and wants him to drink. But Kiana James has kind of popped in. We'll see what she does. Gunther had his match with Kofi. It was a great match. I still again, they're teasing this more serious side of Kofi that we get peeks of here and there. They need to show that more often with Kofi. It's something different. It's fresh. It's just something he needs. Don't get me wrong, clapping and smiling New Day has been one of the biggest parts of his career. But again, you gotta do something different if he's gonna be here for a while. You saw it in his title reign. Kofi Kingston can easily be a main eventer. But he's got to get out of this New Day shell. Both him and Xavier. Again, Xavier's improved as well. Let them both kind of go off on their own. Or another thing, make them heels again. They haven't been heels since 2016, I would say. Almost 9 years they've been baby faces. It's way, way overdue time for something different for these guys. But it was a great match. Gunther won. It was interesting, though, because at the beginning of the match, Kofi actually beat down on Gunther and wounded his knee. So there were several moments where it looked like Kofi could have won. But eventually Gunther won with a Boston Crab. And then backstage afterwards, he runs into Karrion Kross, who says it's a tough loss, but there's always more time. So I guess it's easy to a feud with the Final Testament and New Day, which I hope to God the Final Testament win. Heck, do this. Have this feud, put over the Final Testament, and turn Kofi Kingston heel. Well, New Day heel in the meantime. I'm hoping that feud accomplishes something, because I am just begging for them to finally get things cooking with Karrion Kross. And, of course, the Authors of Pain as well. And again, why isn't Paul Ellering not speaking still? He should be speaking. That's what freaking made the Authors of Pain great. But, just had to get that in there. Lyra Valkyria had a backstage interview talking about the measures she set to damage control, and she always has Becky's back. Becky rolls up and thanks her for that, and she leaves. But then, as she leaves, here comes Liv Morgan, who wishes her luck with fighting Zoey Stark tonight. And she wants to welcome Liv to Raw. But she also wants to ask, why is Becky such a bitch? As she kind of said. And Lyra tells her, ask her yourself. And then Becky's like right behind her with this like her smug look on her face. And she's like, hello. And then Becky throws this very cheap looking, again, I always compare this, she throws this very cheap punch to Liv. It reminded me so much of the punch that Triple H gave Kurt Angle at the beginning of their build to that mixed tag match at WrestleMania 34. It reminded me of that. And then she does that, and then she says she's not the one afraid of a face-to-face fight, bitch, and goes to leave, obviously getting more heat. And just obviously showing that heel turn from Liv Morgan is inching closer and closer and closer. Didn't happen tonight, but again, it's on its way. I do think Liv's winning that title at King of the Ring. Like I said, they just needed this little boost and little change in direction for this heel character before they would have put the title on Liv Morgan. Which again is why I am still okay with the fact they didn't give it to her right away. And it looks like Becky... I know some people are saying that they think Becky isn't quite as much of a badass as she used to be. I kind of see why, but same time, what else does Becky really have left to do, if we're being honest? Like, her playing this, like, mentoring role, if they're teasing, like, a thing with her and Lyra Valkyria, that works for me right now. She's the veteran. She's done, like, her hottest work. So now it's time for her to, start, getting the future ready. So the role Becky's in right now, I'm totally okay with. Anyways, Bronson Reed basically squashed Akira Tozawa. Chad Gable, of course, gets in the ring and berates him. We also had this long backstage interview where Ludwig Kaiser was being interviewed. He talks about how Gunther has nothing to prove to anyone. And he runs down Sheamus, saying he's going to put him out of his misery and expose him in front of the whole world. So I guess there's a feud with Ludwig and Sheamus? Okay, maybe, cool, awesome. We also had a backstage where New Catch Republic go introduce themselves to Adam Pearce. And Adam Pearce announces a fatal 4-way match later on in the show to determine who will fight Ms. The Awesome Truth at King and Queen of the Ring. And then Braun Breaker roll up and complains about being left out of King of the Ring again. And Adam Pearce gave Braun this weird response, stating that he felt he didn't want to throw him in with, the big sharks right away or something like that. He wanted to ease him in. No offense, if that's the case, as much as I love them, then why did you put Ilja Dragunov in this tournament? Or even put, like, Lyra Valkyria in this as well? Like, you basically put people who don't even have... Again, Braun Breaker has more main roster experience than any of them. So why do you think Braun's not ready for this tournament? I thought that was a weird explanation. Lyra Valkyria and Zoey Stark had a good match. Lyra Valkyria did win after countering the Z360 into a Nightwing, which was good there. So I got I'm probably going to get my my semifinal prediction matches right, because I'm pretty sure Randy Orton's going to beat Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown on Friday, and I think based on the tease, Tama Tonga is going to get past LA Knight, sadly, and I think it's going to be Randy Orton and Tama Tonga. Again, I think that they're going to use the men's tournament to help progress the Bloodline storyline. which I think will happen. Jey Uso cuts a promo backstage. He welcomes Ilja Dragunov to Raw. As he's going to beat him. He's going to beat Gunther. And he's going to be your new King of the Ring. Sami Zayn had his match with Otis. And Gable was out there, of course, as well. But, of course, Otis tried doing his, funny stuff. And then Chad gets on to remind him, no funny business. And, of course, Otis wasn't having it. He goes hit the Caterpillar. But off the distraction, Sami Zayn ducks it. And then gets Otis to the corner, hits a haluva kick, and Sami Zayn wins. And afterwards, though, Chad Gable then berates and pie faces Otis until Sami ran back in and took him out. And then after we're walking up there, Chad calls Otis a coward. And Otis follows him out. But you can tell, Otis has, he's conflicted. He's he's not going to tolerate that. But he also still has a history with Gable as well. Very great booking by Chad Gable. Berating and kind of abusing his students as well with all this. I still believe that eventually he's going to have a new stable with him and the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. I originally thought that maybe they would have a thing where I thought they would do a thing where they would have Alpha Academy there, but obviously if they don't, they're not going to help Chad. So Chad's going to expose his Plan B during the match in Saudi Arabia. I feel like, and that's when we'll have the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile show up, or it could be a thing where, maybe it's not till later. And the reveal will kind of be like how it was back when AEW revealed the Pinnacle. Whenever they had that segment where MJF and Wardlow turned on the Inner Circle and revealed the Pinnacle. They could do it that way as well, possibly. Maybe. We'll see. But that is coming eventually. But Chad Gable, again, as much as I still wish he was a face, he is still killing it in this heel role. And I do think he should win that Intercontinental title at King of the Ring next Saturday. Speaking of which, Braun Strowman was chatting with the Creed brothers when JD McDonough rolled up and basically tries to step up to him for some reason, saying, don't get involved in their business. And Braun's like, shut up. He could easily squash JD. Becky Lynch had a match with Dakota Kai. Match was going good, but then it got interrupted by Damage Control just for Lyra Valkyria to come out. It was more so of a step like a tease, as the finals is going to be Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky for the Raw side for Queen of the Ring. So I guess whatever. I don't know. Ilja Dragunov had a backstage interview. Says it's not enough to just be here. He's going to be King of the Ring, and he promises to bring the same kind of fight to main event Jey Uso tonight. He also recaps his history with Gunther and says it's not over, and he turns to see Gunther standing there and smiling, teasing another match between these two, which unfortunately it's not happening on Raw next week. It's not happening at King and Queen of the Ring. But at some point, that's got to be a pay-per-view match. Heck, it could be a WrestleMania main event, for crying out loud. You go back and watch their two matches they've had. I keep saying excellent stuff. And I already feel like they put Ilja Dragunov very high on the pedestal in the main roster so far. His match with Ricochet was insane. His match with Jay was also insane as well. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we had the Fatal 4 for number one contendership for the World Tag Titles. Authors of Pain, Creed Brothers, Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and the new Catch Republic all were in this match, and it was fun. The match ended though because Carlito got involved, and I think he hit a backstabber on Pete Dunne, threw him in the ring, set up for Judgment Day to win. So he helped Judgment Day win, which again is a role I wish they would have done better with JD McDonough. But hey, Carlito's done something different. I'll take it. Which does kind of give Damian Priest a little more faith. Tell him later what he did was pretty cool. And he actually is going to handle his business with Ray. And he says, Judgment Day don't run with cowards, and he will go handle his business with Ray. Ricochet wishes JD, not JD. Ricochet wishes Ilja Dragunov good luck in his match. And then we had the main event match. And it was another excellent performance as well. Jey Uso's hot entrance. Ilja Dragunov, again, the hard hitting. He did a freaking H-bomb on Jey while on the announce table. It was insane. His Constantine specials in there. His chops. Super kicks in there as well. It's just another hard-hitting fight. Ilja Dragunov is definitely one day going to be a world champion. He's in great hands. And he already feels like he's on a nice level on the main roster already. Heck, this is third main roster match? He was the main event? That's freaking awesome also. I also like the finish where I think he hit another H-bomb on Jey, and he was going to go hit his torpedo Moscow, but as he's in air about to do the diving headbutt, Jey speared him and hit the splash to get the victory. And again, he's in the finals for the King of the Ring tournament for the Raw side. He takes on Gunther next week. Here's the thing. If Jey would have never gotten into this tournament, Gunther would have been my pick to win. I still think they're going to have Jey win because Jey is over like hotcakes right now. And this also gives us a chance to, again, further the storyline with the bloodline. Because Tama Tonga ain't winning King of the Ring. I think it would be ridiculous for them to have him win it and have him be king over Solo. So I still think what's going to happen, Jay's going to win next week. Because again, they need to give him something. They got to capitalize them on something. And I think the reason why this will further the bloodline storyline, because I think at King and Queen of the Ring, I think Jimmy will return, help Jey win, and we'll start the whole, rebuilding the trust between the two brothers storyline. Which will be great. But of course, again, things take time to build back up again. As, Jay's got to build the trust back in Jimmy. Will he again, though? We'll have to wait and see. But great main event and a great show all around. Again, phenomenal wrestling. For the most part, great storyline development. I know I picked on a couple little things there, but it was still a great show. I gave this episode a B+. A B+ for Raw this week. Again, what are your thoughts on this week's episode of Raw? We're going to thoughts, of course, on the King of the Ring semifinals being on Raw and SmackDown. Well, and King and Queen of the Ring being on Raw and SmackDown and not being saved for the pay-per-view. And any other thoughts as well, make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Check out my King and Queen of the Ring predicted match card as well, as it's off to a hot start in views. And also be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later, and do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!